Hi everyone, my name is Karis and welcome back to my corner of the internet where I talk about books and other things that I enjoy. Today I'm here with another one of my stupid ideas. So I was trying to think of other things that I could do tier ranking videos for, because previously I've done like the books that I've read, I've done characters from Tracy Beaker, all sorts of nostalgic stuff. So I was just lying in bed like trying to think of ideas, and then my brain was like, you should tier rank punctuation marks because you have opinions on that. And the idea got stuck in my head. I can't get it out of my head. I think it's a pretty dumb idea, but some of my friends told me that I should do it and they would be interested to hear my thoughts. So here I am. So some of you might also know that I'm an editor. I work for an independent publishing house, editing travel guides. I think a general misconception about editorial is that it's all, you know, putting in commas here and there, just dealing with like the nitty-gritty. It is a bit of that, but it's also so much more than that. I appreciate that I'm doing absolutely nothing for this stereotype by doing this video, but I thought it would be fun because I do have some opinions that I have gained over the past few years of doing this job. But I'm also just going to put a disclaimer that this is in no way a professional video. It's all just a bit of fun. So yes, let's just get into it. So apparently in English there are 14 common punctuation marks. However, I've got a few more here because I've got a few variations. I've got a few that I don't really know if they're actually classed as punctuation, but I just wanted to include them for the purposes of the video. So I think I've got about 20 things. So I'm going to try not to talk too much about all of them, but just quickly to go through the categories that I've got. I've just got 5 categories. So at the bottom I've got I am offended. I physically hate this piece of punctuation. Then I've got could survive without. So it's like, it's fine, I don't hate it. Then we've got everyday icon, which is a solid piece of punctuation. I don't hate it, but I don't really have strong opinions on it. Like, it serves its purpose, it's great for everyday use, but it's not, you know, it's not that next level, which is big fan, but it's not quite superior, which is my favourite pieces of punctuation. I can't believe honestly that I even have favourite pieces of punctuation. Like, this video is so dumb. So first of all, we've got the full stop, and I'm going to put the full stop into everyday icon because, you know, could we get by without full stops? I would say it's probably the most used piece of punctuation, but at the same time it's no better than that. It serves its purpose. It's just sort of there. So for that reason, and the fact that I have, you know, received text messages before with the full stop at the end and been like, oh, they're being so passive aggressive with me, I can't say that I'm a big fan of it. Next, I'm going to go with the exclamation mark. I'm going to say that I'm a big fan of the exclamation mark, but I do think that I overuse it. I know it can get really annoying to see sentences with like loads and loads of exclamation marks, and I think in a book that's more annoying. I feel like on Twitter, social media, again, messaging, I feel like I am definitely guilty of overusing the exclamation mark, but you know, it's fun. It's nicer than a full stop. I at least think, oh, this might come across as a bit aggressive if I put a full stop, but if I put an exclamation mark, we know that it's all fun and games. There's no aggression. It's just positive vibes. The question mark, I'm also going to put in big fan. I feel like I use the question mark a lot because I'm often confused. I'm also a big fan of the exclamation mark question mark combo, which brings me on to the Interrobang. I guess in terms of this scale, I would have to put it in could survive without, because I do survive without it. I don't really use it. I feel like we don't use it enough. I would like to give it its time to shine. Although, you know, I do like the look of the question mark exclamation mark combo, probably more than this combined Interrobang. So yeah, I'm very on the fence about it still, I guess. Okay, let's go on to the like commas, semicolon, colon situation. So a comma, it's got to be an everyday icon. Again, a pretty basic piece of punctuation, but like the full stop, it's one that's, you know, used very regularly. I do think that it can be overused, and there's a lot of times when people put it into a sentence, and I know that I'm definitely guilty of this as well in some cases, when it's just not really needed. Like, the sentence can survive without it. When I was talking about making this video, Shah said that she really wanted to know my opinion on the Oxford comma, and to be honest, I don't really have a big opinion on it. I feel like I should, but I don't. My main thing normally is that like something's consistent. So if a book or whatever uses an Oxford comma, then it should use that consistently. If it doesn't, it's fine. I wouldn't like add it into something. So I guess I feel like we could do without the Oxford comma. I'm not like a big defender of it, but equally I'm not like offended by the use of it. Then we're going to go on to the semicolon. I'm a huge semicolon fan. Which might be controversial. I don't think I knew how to use a semicolon before I got my job. I definitely avoided it. It was like always a punctuation mark that I was like, what the hell is this? I feel like now I've really come to appreciate it. It really serves a purpose that none of these other punctuation marks can. So this is the hill I'm going to die on. It's superior. But then that takes us on to the normal colon, and Am I offended by it? No, but I could survive without it. I don't really like it. I don't know, it just doesn't look as nice either. Like the semicolon looks very cool, very fancy. The colon is just boring. I just don't like it. I have no further explanation. I just don't really like it. Let's talk about brackets. These curly brackets, parentheses, whatever you want to call them, I would say that they are, am I a big fan of them? I would say that they're an everyday icon because there are other things that I would prefer to use instead of brackets as like a substitute, which I will get onto, but I'm not offended by them. The square bracket, I'm also going to say an everyday icon because in terms of my job, I use these a lot. In just general books or whatever, if I see a square bracket, I don't really like how they look. For like editorial purposes, they're really good for embedding queries into documents, so I appreciate them. I do use them every day in my job, but outside of my job, I don't really like them. If it wasn't for the work that I do, I would put them in. Could survive without for sure. So I'm also going to put these, what are these called, like braces? I'm going to put them in could survive without. I never really use them. They are pretty. I think they look nicer than the square bracket and the curly bracket, so you know, petition for us to use these ones more regularly instead. If we could just like swap them out, like no one would notice. Then these triangle-y bracket things, which probably have a name that I can't remember. I don't like them. I don't like how they look. I'm sorry, the only good use for these is like if you're wanting to do like the more or less than symbol. They just look aggressive. They scream aggression to me. Okay, next let's talk about dashes because this is where I have some opinions. The standard dash, everyday icon. So when it's used correctly, everyday icon. When it's used incorrectly, in place of some of these other types of dashes, then it just doesn't look nice. I just don't like it. N dash and M dash, which are these two here, I have opinions on these that I think are different because I don't like the M dash. I could survive without it. And I would say that the N dash is superior, top tier. I think this is because the house style that I work with, we don't use M dashes. So the M dash like theoretically can be used to replace different punctuation, so like commas or brackets. However, we, in my company, the style sheet that I follow, we use the N dash in place of this, and we will also use N dashes in spans of numbers. So the functionality of the M dash, I agree, top tier, but because I don't use it, I could survive without it, and because I'm not used to seeing it as much on the page when I do see it in a book, I just think it looks ugly. The N dash, you put spaces around either side of. The M dash you don't tend to, so it will be like two different words connected together in place of a comma or a bracket or whatever with no spaces either side, and I just don't like how it looks. It just really irks me. In fact, I could put it in I am offended. I'm going to put it there because I just don't like how it looks. Maybe if it had spaces either side, but just the two separate words and two separate ideas being connected with no spaces either side, it just makes me feel away. I just don't like it. I never thought I'd be this passionate about dash, but apparently I am. So let's move on. Speech marks. This picture does actually have double, but it's obviously cropped it off. I'm going to put them in everyday icon. I personally probably could survive without them in terms of my job because, again, the style sheet that I use, we don't use double quotation marks that much. So if this speech, we'll use single quotation marks, and we'll only use double quotation marks if there's like speech marks within speech marks. I now kind of see the double speech mark as a bit pointless, but I do know that a lot of style sheets, the double speech mark is commonplace. It doesn't offend me. Single quotation mark, I'm going to put in big fan because this is obviously also an apostrophe, which is very important. And it's also versatile because it can be used for speech as well. So we love versatility. This is more of like a typesetting thing, I guess, than actual punctuation. But this, which is still a quote mark, but the straight version of it, I'm offended. I would never ever ever have noticed this before my job. I definitely didn't know the difference between a straight quote and a curly quote before. It had never crossed my mind like that it was a thing, and now I'm just so accustomed again to seeing them curly that when I see a straight quote like this, I'm like Then we've got a few random bits left over here that aren't really, well, an ellipsis is punctuation. I'm going to put it in everyday icon, I guess. When I was looking up the pictures to put into this video, actually, the article that I downloaded the picture of the ellipsis from was an article titled "How Colleen Rooney's Made the Ellipsis Popular Again." So I kind of love it just for that. but it is one that you don't want to overuse an ellipsis because it will really stand out and be like really grating. Then we've got the slash, forward slash, backslash. I only put the one in. To be honest, I could survive without it. I think other than in like URLs, there are other things that you could do to indicate what that indicates, and I don't really like it. Again, it's one that screams aggression to me. Then we've got the tilde, which isn't really a common punctuation mark, and I don't really know if there's a use for it. We use it like for typesetting purposes, but not in like writing sentences or whatever. I know it's also like an accent in Spanish words and different languages, but I'm a big fan of it. I wish that we could find more uses for the tilde. Like maybe we could replace the em dash with the tilde, and then I would be happy because it just looks nice, doesn't it? It's just pretty. The ampersand, is this punctuation? Again, it's probably more like typography, but I just wanted to include it. I'm a big fan of the ampersand. I think it looks really pretty. I wouldn't replace the word and with it all the time, but in some uses, like titles, then I think it works well, and I just think it looks pretty. And lastly, we've got the Asterix. I don't really have a massive opinion on it. I think I'm going to put it in everyday icon because I don't dislike it. Or could I survive without it? I could probably survive without it. It's useful for like footnotes, that sort of thing. I also enjoy using it in place of like the sparkles emoji for like irony, which the tilde, actually you can also use the tilde for like irony as well, but I could probably survive without the Asterix. So yeah, this is my final overview of my thoughts on punctuation. Superior, semicolon and end dash, big fan, question mark, exclamation mark, curly quote, tilde and ampersand. Everyday icons, your full stop, your comma. I'm now just wondering if I've got these two mixed up, but I don't know. Your parentheses, square brackets, hyphen, double quotation and ellipses. Could survive without, interrobang, colon, braces, forward slash and Asterix. And I am offended, the triangle brackets, the em dash and the straight quote. I think that that is a pretty definitive ranking of my thoughts and feelings. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. I know it was a bit weird, but I hope it was a bit of fun and you enjoyed watching it anyway. If there's anything else that you'd like me to tier rank, then please let me know, because as I say, I absolutely love doing these videos. If you have thoughts on punctuation, which I mean, why wouldn't you? Please let me know in the comments. I would love to know if you agree or disagree with me on any of these things. But aside from that, that is it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're all keeping safe and staying well, and I will see you again next time. Bye.